سيد المرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلوا على الحبيب صلى الله تعالى على سيدنا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم والصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيبي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has again granted us the opportunity to listen to the Quran in the month of Ramadan in the form of the recitation during Salat al-Tarawih, and Allah Azza wa Jalla accepted of those who have recited and those who have listened. Ameen. Today again, alhamdulillah, it is much very good to our hearts by the recitation of the Holy Quran and various ayat and various discussions that have taken place. We will go through just a few, inshallah, Azza wa Jalla, and the purpose is that we take some lessons from the ayat of the Holy Quran of which we recited and which we listened to in Salat al-Tarawih. Today there was one ayah that many of you have heard many times, mashallah. That was mentioned towards the beginning of today's Tarawih. And that was the ayah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us of the purpose of the creation of humankind.
Subhanallah.
And it's important that we keep this in mind, and therefore I'm highlighting this, because for us to fulfill our purpose, we first have to know what is our purpose. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That Allah Azza wa Jalla said that indeed I haven't created jinn or insan except for the purpose that they worship. So that is our sole purpose. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is secondary. Our primary purpose is the worship of Allah Azza wa Jalla, the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jalla, to attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And subhanallah, many ayat were recited and few surahs were recited. One very well-known, renowned, famous surah is Surah Al-Rahman that was recited. In that you have a verse which is possibly the most repeated verse in the Holy Quran, and that verse is فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Allah Ta'ala starts the surah by saying Ar-Rahman 'allama al-Quran, in which Allah Azza wa Jalla says that it is Rahman Azza wa Jalla who has taught his beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam the Quran. And that is something that's very beautiful, and Allah Ta'ala has made it very clear to us. Some are mistaken. They consider that other, the Malaika and so on are the teachers and the Ustad of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But Allah Azza wa Jalla clarifies this himself in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla says it is Rahman, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself who has taught his beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He has taught his beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the Quran. And this teaches us the vastness of the knowledge that Allah has given to his beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because if Allah Azza wa Jalla has taught him the Quran, Mufassirun tell us that it is the alfaz and the ma'ani, meaning it is the words of the Quran and the meanings of the Quran that Allah has taught his beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now the question is, if somebody thinks that how much of knowledge did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give his beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? How much of knowledge did Allah bless his beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with? The question is, Allah has taught him the Holy Quran, isn't it? That's not the question, that's the statement. Allah Azza wa Jalla has told us that. Allah has taught him the Holy Quran. Now tell us what is short in the Quran. What's not in the Quran? Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَا غَطْقٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ, that there's nothing that is dry, there's no wet, meaning there's nothing that's dry or wet, nothing between, except that it's in the Holy Quran. Everything is in the Holy Quran. So if Allah taught his beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam the Quran, so how much of knowledge Allah has blessed his beloved with?
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah. Therefore, whatever we learn up to today and beyond, whatever we learn, we find that it was in the knowledge of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah Ta'ala taught him. Why is it that scientists up to today, when they make some discoveries and they come back and they say, wow, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has spoken of this over 1400 years ago?
Subhanallah.
Because they have teachers, worldly teachers. Beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam teaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So subhanallah azza wa jalla, and the famous ayah that's repeated over and over again, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, which of the favors of Allah azza wa jalla do you deny? In this ayah, mashallah, I've seen, honorable personalities listen to this. I've seen one Shaykh Tariqat Amir listen to the founder of Dawat-e-islami listen to this, to Surah Rahman, and really, every time this ayah was recited, he sobbed like a child. Because which really, it makes us humble in the court of Allah. That really how much of ihsan, how much of favors Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon us, and how indebted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we should be. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam hadith of Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala, also is regarding one of the ayat that we recited recently. Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala said, and she reports of the beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saying, that Rasulullah was performing salah at night. And the beloved Nabi was performing salah, and whilst he was standing, he was crying and crying so much so that his blessed beard would get wet, his blessed chest would get wet. He would go into ruku' and he would cry continuously. You'll know narrations of the beloved Nabi standing in salah to the extent that his blessed feet would swell. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the beloved would cry so much in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until Aisha Siddiqa said, "Oh beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, why is it that you are crying so much? Why is it that you are crying so much? You worship Allah Azza wa Jal so much, you cry so much in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven for your sake. Allah has forgiven the former members of your ummah and the latter members of your ummah. For your sake Allah is forgiving your ummah, yet you are crying." Subhanallah. And Rasulullah responded to this saying, "Should I not be a grateful servant in the court of Allah?
Subhanallah.
Should I not be a grateful servant in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that yes, we make so much of istighfar and so on, we should make istighfar. Rasulullah who doesn't have sins, he's sinless, he's ma'asum, he's the Nabi of Allah and the King of the Anbiya alayhi wasallam. No sin in his account. Yet he cries so much in the court of Allah Azza wa Jal. If it's not that, asking for istighfar or for forgiveness, then it is shukr that, oh Allah Azza wa Jal, you have given me what you have given. And subhanallah, Rasulullah would make tawbah as well. Tawbah, Rasulullah says that make tawbah, there are hadith regarding tawbah 70 times a day, istighfar 70 times a day. Yet he didn't sin. But he was teaching us, and one of the understandings we can take also is his istighfar on behalf of the ummah. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Subhanallah, then we went into Surah Al-Waqi'ah, and Surah Al-Waqi'ah just a recommendation that please, it's important to learn Surah Al-Waqi'ah and to try to recite Surah Al-Waqi'ah. Our Surah Al-Kiram would advise persons to teach, Muslims to teach their children this specific Surah Al-Waqi'ah. And they would say that if you teach your children Surah Al-Waqi'ah, as long as they recite it, they will never suffer from poverty.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah, if you want the wadifa for rizq, if you're always looking for wadif, it's in the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Waqi'ah. If you can recite Surah Al-Waqi'ah daily, on a daily basis, inshallah, you'll see the barakah of this, that inshallah, you will always be comfortable. You'll never be in the state that you're muhtaj on anyone besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you have barakah always. Allah Azza wa Jal give us tawfiq to make amal upon the level that whatever we have learned today. And inshallah Azza wa Jal in future sessions, there's few days left of Ramadan, every night inshallah we'll sit and we'll learn something from the day's Tarawih. Allah Azza wa Jal bless us to make amal upon all of it. Amin bi jahi khatami nabiyyin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa salli Allahumma ala sayyidina wa habibina wa mawlana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa barik wa sallim bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah.